everyone. In this video, we're going to go over about 30 custom lines that we use on behalf of our customers when they don't actually have another better thing to say. And so what I mean by that is I always tell my customers, our goal is to send generally the same email you would send if you had 10 minutes to research a prospect. And whatever custom message you would send, we want to scale that to your entire market. Now, sometimes people send very advanced custom things. You can check out my other YouTube videos for those things. But sometimes they're so specific that there's no point in making a YouTube video on it because it wouldn't be beneficial to anybody except for my customer. But sometimes they don't have really great data that they could be researching for. So we use a lot of these as fallbacks in place of that. So we just have something else interesting to say in our email campaigns. We use clay.com to build all of them. And so we might take a field trip over to clay.com to show you very, very quickly how we build some of them. And let's jump into them. So we're going to jump in and we're going to go through each of these. I'll zoom in a little bit so that you can see. And like I said, these aren't for everybody, but they're pretty general. And I hope that you could take in a little bit of understanding of how we put some of these AI generated lines together. And we will go to clay.com if you'd like to see just a quick excerpt of how we put some of these things together. So company mission summary, this is one that we often will use, especially when you're reaching out to companies that aren't in the same vertical. So if you're reaching out to bowling alleys, there's no point in using something like this. But if you sell to a bunch of different people, and it doesn't really matter what they do as a company, they just need to have a marketing department, then this is something that could work for them. And so we'll just say, like, I saw how you help people, mission of what they do, and wanted to reach out. And so this is really, really simple to set up in Clay. Let me pull some things up. So this is a general Clay template that we just use on behalf of our customers here and there. Well, actually, we use this all the time. But so what we do is we take care of all the email validation and all that crazy stuff right inside of here. And so if we wanted the company mission, there's basically an AI prompt that we have in order to do that. And so if we just go to use AI, and then we go to browse prompts, and we just say mission, we get the company mission for an email first line. And so this is basically the prompt that we use in order to get this done. Now, you never want to just enter a website and just say, hey, AI, go out and tell me what the mission is of this company. You always want to give it a description. We'll pull this from their LinkedIn company description, or we'll use Zenrose to ping their website and get some text from maybe their SEO description. Or if we need even more, we'll get it from the actual first page of their website. And that's how we'll write this one in here. So pretty easy to do in Clay. I'm not sure if you'd have any more questions on top of that. This is our prompt, and it's pretty dang simple. Title plus time and role. Notice you've been the title for about time years and figured you're the right person to reach out to. This could change to months as well too. All this is we're just in Clay, and this doesn't even use AI, to be completely honest. We'll just jump into Clay and we'll just use the enrich person from profile over here. And then we'll just run this real quick. And so in the experience section of enrich profile, they're just going to tell you exactly how long they've been there. And you could just use a formula to figure out how many months or years it's been and all of those things. I don't know why it's not running. Hold on, let's look at this. Whoops. Switch it for this. Oh, because it was pulling from there. Sorry. So then if you just jump in here and you just see their experience, you'll see all of this stuff in here. And then you'll say start date. They started as the chief revenue officer in 2019, May 1st, 2019. Well, just May 2019. You don't actually know the date because it's LinkedIn data. And so just a couple things here. We'll actually use filter list of object to just confirm that the first experience that pulls up matches the LinkedIn company URL that we have in our data, because sometimes people might say that they're an angel investor or something like that. And they might say, I'm an angel investor and then I'm also the chief revenue officer. But so it's not just the first experience that's there. So make sure you use filter list of objects. And then once you've used filter list of objects, then make sure that it's a current experience and that current experience matches the LinkedIn company URL that you think that they work at. And then you can move on and you can write this out, and it's super easy. Literally, if you just bring the experience say latest experience. I'm not going to go through filter list of objects right now, but if you literally just go here and you make your start date and then you push forward and then you just say formula, you could say how many years ago or how many months ago was this start date? Oh. And then you could generate the formula, or you might have to use AI for this, but anyway, oh no, perfect. So then it has the dates in here. So this was like 2 years ago. Perfect, right? Then you could just use another formula to just say, divide by whatever. And so this would be like, so you divide by 12. And so you're like, all right, you've been there for about 5 years. And always put that about in there. And then, you've been here for about a year. You've been here for about 2 years, and you could just change everything as you go. Title plus company mission plus job description from LinkedIn profile. Figured you're the right person to reach out to considering. So what we're doing here is we will make a gigantic prompt in Clay where we basically say, okay, this is the person's title. This is what they say they do at their company. And this is the mission of the company. Just so that we can get a line that comes together to basically say, you're the chief marketing officer. You say that you're in charge of, running all of the ads and making sure that the company has enough marketing qualified leads. So I figured you were the right person to reach out to. Just something really, really custom. But then we want to put the company mission on top of it. So I figured you were the right person to reach out to considering your CMO role. And I figured you're in charge of marketing qualified leads so that you can help more fitness enthusiasts breathe better or something like that. So it's like a really personalized first line up top here. The recommendation call out, this we use most often as a PS line. And so this is another super easy one to just share. In this data in here, you'll see that one of the data points is recommendations. So not everyone has recommendations, but if they do have people who have left recommendations, all we'll do is we will just use AI to just call out the person who left the recommendation and a quick summary of what they said. And I like using this as a PS line because if that wasn't left as a fake thing, it's you can't just use Apollo and just pull up a list from Apollo or ZoomInfo or Seamless and write that line. So it just pushes it over the edge a little bit of just some AI generation there. LinkedIn post call out. This is probably one of my favorite ones because not many people know that it can be automated. So Clay has a function literally for LinkedIn posts, and I'm not sure. Find recent posts by user or company. So then you can pull this. And again, it's just an AI line to just summarize that you saw the latest LinkedIn post. Another company called Lead Magic also has LinkedIn post data. If you don't like the LinkedIn post data you're getting from Clay, you can use Lead Magic as well, and you'd be all set there. And so again, it's just a quick prompt of, hey, write a summary of this LinkedIn post using my prefix, and then your prefix is, hey, I saw your LinkedIn post about blah, 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 and then keep it under 10 words and whatever it might be. And that's just another fun one that I really like to use. This one is probably my favorite one overall that we use across as many customers as I possibly can. Again, this won't work if you sell to bowling alleys, because if you sell to bowling alleys and you have some software for bowling alleys, you do the same thing for every bowling alley. But if you use this, basically you're inferring how your product or service can help them accomplish their mission. So we will train AI on what our company does, and we'll just say, and when I say train, I mean we just add 5 sentences about what our company does, and then we'll use their company description or their SEO description or the first couple of paragraphs from their website, and we'll say, okay, how could we help this company? And so then for us, it would be, specifically, I think I could help you. I think we could help you, automate some outbound pipelines so that you can have more conversations with chief financial officers, whatever it might be, right? And so this one, I think this applies for everyone. In my opinion, like everybody should be using this one. Previous company call out. I like using these in follow-up emails. So saying, I figured you didn't leave IBM stoked to worry about, and then the boring problem you solve. So I figured you didn't leave IBM stoked to worry about email deliverability, or I figured you didn't leave IBM stoked to worry about, cleaning lead lists or whatever it might be. Personally, I just like using it in follow-ups because it just adds a nice touch, because a lot of times our follow-ups, when I say ours, I mean like the community of cold emailers, don't have any fun data in them. So this just helps add some more. Company analogy, I really like this one. Basically, we're just analogizing. Every company in the world, B2B, helps people save time, save money, or make more money. So we'll just analogize and we'll say, hey, the same way you help people save time on email deliverability, we help people save time on list cleaning. Or the same way you help people make more money with Amazon FBA, we help people make more money with outbound automations, right? Whatever it might be. There's a ton of different things. But the only thing I would caution you when you're using these analogies is that if you don't force it to link up, save time, save money, make more money, the problem you're going to run into is it's going to be like, hey, the same way that you help veterinarians, we help people with their outbound pipelines. And it's like, no, like there's no analogy like being made there, right? And so you want to say the same way you help veterinarians save time, we help sales teams save time. Like you want that to be the analogy across it, because that's the thing that every offer is going to break down into. So when we train this, we train, and when I say train, I just give data about this is how I help people save time, this is how I help people save money, here's how I help them make more money, figure out what this company most likely does, and then make an analogy between that. So help them figure, like, do they help people save time, save money, make more money, whatever it might be. Reviews scraped from Google or Yelp or G2, etc. And then we can say, saw the review about how you, and then boom. Probably the easiest one to just talk about is like a Yelp review. Just, you could literally just in Clay, just pull up Yelp, and then it would come with the reviews in the output for the find reviews, right? Or you can use Claygent to go find the reviews as well too. And both of those work really well. Just make sure that you filter them for positive reviews, because you don't want to reach out to somebody about negative reviews. Even if you only want to target with people with negative reviews, it's still not going to be a good idea to reach out to people and comment on their negative reviews. Just don't do that. We'll also use Claygent to find case studies mentioned on their website. We won't always find out what they did, but we're just trying to mention the case studies. Because again, that's just a data point that no data provider has. That's a very custom thing with the onset of tools like Claygen or even just AI and web scraping generally, that it's possible to get these things at scale. Usually you'd have to manually find this, and that's why I really like it. Web traffic. So this one is important because a lot of my customers want to target based off of web traffic, but SimilarWeb and SEMrush web traffic is never reliable at all. So this is all, in my opinion, the way that you frame it. So we say, I know SimilarWeb isn't perfect, but they said you had blank numbers per month. And literally the way we pull this is so every SimilarWeb URL ever all has the same setup over here. So it's similarweb.com/website/Noble project. And so all we'll do over here is we'll just create a formula. Well, I guess first we'll clean it. And so we'll say normalize a domain. So now it's clean, right? And we can just run this real quick. And then once that's clean, what we can do now is we can just create the SimilarWeb links as a formula. So then we would just say concatenate, and then it would be like similarweb.com/website/ and then we'll just do normalize a URL, right? Throw that in there. And now we've got the perfect SimilarWeb thing here. And then we'll point Zenrose at this, and we'll scrape it with Zenrose. And then honestly, we just use a formula to just pull it out, because for some reason Zenrose won't parse the data. So you just have to use a formula to pull it out. And so anyway, that's just another fun one. Average order value for e-commerce brands. I've made an entire YouTube video on this. Go check that out. Basically, we scrape the Google shopping page for all of the products. That's not a thing you want to use Claygen for, because Claygen is going to find like one product and it's not going to be good. We'll scrape Google Shopping for all the products we can find, and then we'll use AI to figure out what the average order value is, and then we'll also use AI to actually name the items so that it looks pretty cool. Again, I've made a whole YouTube video on this. If you want to see that, you could see that over there. In this video, I know I'm going quickly. All I'm trying to do is just give ideas. I'm not trying to make this a full tutorial. So including screenshots of pages, this is just something like, just use screenshotapi.net and you can just take screenshots of pages. If you need to upgrade, if you need to take screenshots of pages that are protected by anti-scraping stuff, use Zenrose and their proxy network to get past it, and you could set all of that up. Maybe I'll make a video on that one day. And so then find a page where they mention something and send the link. This is just classic Google search operators. So personally, when we do this in Clay, I find the Google integration to just be too expensive. So we use a platform called serper.dev, and we do all of our Google search stuff over here. And so the thing with Google searches is if you put like site, actually right here, facebook.com, ine paramus, right? I was looking for this before. Oh, it's going to continue. So there's Google search operators that you can use to, and now I feel like I lost my loom. Anyway, there's Google search operators that you can use where you can find keywords on people's site. So the only thing with this is you want to make sure that it's a keyword that if they actually mention this keyword on the site, then it's on that page, then you want to send it to them, right? So if you are searching for something like data processing addendum, there's no other page other than their privacy policy that's going to include the keywords data processing addendum. But if you're looking for just enterprise, then they could have blogs that say enterprise. It could say it on their pricing page. It could say, so there's a lot of things that kind of go into this one outside of just the normal, just a keyword lookup. So just be careful about that one. See where they rank on Google Organic. This one is really interesting. And so what we'll do here is we'll say I did a search for relevant keywords and saw you were ranked 13th for whatever, and then we'll make some kind of comment. So what we'll do is we'll use AI, we'll look at their company description, and we'll use AI and we'll talk about, and we'll prompt it in a way of like, what keywords would somebody be searching when they are ready to buy from a company for this service or for this product, and all they need to do is just find a company that does it, right? So we're looking for very high intent, very, ready to buy keywords, right? So then we will have those keywords and we'll create a Google search string, like if the keyword is, CSV imports or done for you CSV imports. And let's say these are two keywords. We'll just make the search CSV imports or done for you CSV imports. And then we'll just search this, no site, no nothing. And then what we're doing here is then we'll use filter list of objects inside of Clay to find where the domain of our target prospect shows up in that search. So we could say, I did a search for CSV imports and saw you were ranked, 10th, and then you can make a comment on it. Depending on what you're doing here, it just depends on what you're going to say, right? So if you're an SEO agency, you could say, hey, I saw you rank for these keywords, but if they're ranking 1, 2, or 3, you want to say, hey, kudos, like something that you're doing is working well, congratulations. But if they're ranked 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe you want to send them a message about how you can get them to break the top 3. And then if they're past 10, then you want to say, nobody's going to see, you need to really break onto the first page at least. And so anyway, it just depends on what you're trying to do here. You can also see if they're running Google ads. So the way we do this is very similar to the way that we do the organic one. All you have to do is in Serper, just switch the results to include ads. And it's a very similar process. Use AI to figure out what kind of keywords they'll probably be running ads for, and then do those searches. But you only can do one search at a time because you really want to you want as many ad opportunities as you can. So it might be like 5 or 6 ads opportunities. Technology call out. I used the built with Chrome extension on your site and noticed you had a history of using tech. Okay, so this one's important just from the way we frame it. So with the built with, this is super easy. You set this up in Clay. It's literally an integration. You can figure out what they're using, and then you can even filter it. And so you can filter it by the last detected date. But the only problem with built with data, not the only problem, one of the biggest problems with built with data is they'll say it's installed, but it's actually been uninstalled. So we like to say you had a history of using tech, just because then it just lands a little bit better that if they were using it and built with is wrong, that it's not active anymore, they can still say, oh, okay, this might be true. But if they are using it right now, then you nailed it and you're also crushing it there. The people also viewed section, I have a whole video on this as well too. I have this theory that this section in here, which is on everyone's LinkedIn profile, this people also viewed section, I have a theory that these people are actually closer. I think that these people are actually close to the person that you're looking at. So if you go to my page, whoops. Right. And so on my page, people you may know or other similar profiles. So all of these people, I think when I'm looking at my page, it's a little bit different. People you may know, right? So all of these people have some closeness, like they are in some proximity of the main person that you're looking at. And I think LinkedIn does something with the who you interact with or something like that, where it would say, okay, maybe you know these people as well. I found that Hans might know DK and they might know Pen Frank and they might know some mutual connections in here, but there's a very high chance that they actually know these people in the people you may know section or the other similar profiles. So in here, you'll get people also know inside of Clay. I like using this as a PS line. Honestly, we don't use this a whole ton. I just wanted to show you that this does exist. And you will basically say, hey, the LinkedIn algo, PS, the LinkedIn algo pushed me to your profile after I was researching, people also viewed person. And then again from this person, so I wanted to reach out. Again, like this one, we don't really use that often. I just wanted to show you that it's possible. Notice you recently took over as title. This is super easy. Same thing we were doing from before with the looking up their experience. Just filter the list of objects so that you're actually making sure that they have a start date at the company that you wanted them to, and they're not just an angel investor and an advisor for a company. New promotion or new job. Notice you recently took over as title. Oh wait, I just went over that one. Open job, you're hiring for a title. Make sure when you do this, you clean it with AI because it gets a little funky. This is all very easy stuff. Uh, I'm going to jump into this one because this one is basically a basic version of this one. This is one of my favorites where we'll say, hey, notice you're hiring for a title. And it looked like this person would be responsible for responsibility considering the job description said, and then we'll quote the job description. And so what we're basically doing here is basically trying to reduce the job description to a 2 to 3 word responsibility. And then we're quoting the job description, but we want to make sure that whatever the responsibility is not the direct quote from the job description. So I want this to end up saying, notice you're hiring for an executive assistant, and it looked like this person would be responsible for scheduling meetings, considering the job description said, quotes, and we'll actually put quotes in, work with external teams to manage the calendar of the founder or whatever it might be, right? And so you want to prompt AI to be thinking about that because it doesn't look great if it says this person would be responsible for managing the founder's calendar, considering the job description said manage the founder's calendar, right? So you just want to make sure that the responsibility ends up being something different. And we would definitely use 2 different AI prompts here to get it. And we'll say, okay, this is the responsibility that we found from the job description. Do not say this responsibility again in the output, but find a quote where it says to provide support for this responsibility, right? And so that's a little bit of what we'll do. Summarize a company LinkedIn post is the same as a user LinkedIn post as well. Company news is pretty similar as well. Local restaurant call out. Honestly, this one's just for fun. Don't reach out to funded companies with this. Don't reach out to e-commerce brands with this. Don't reach out to VCs with this. Don't reach out to anybody who receives a ton of potentially good emails. The people who respond really well to these are local business owners who they don't get a high volume of emails just in general. And honestly, they don't really get good email outreach either. So then when you reach out to them with this, they think you actually sent them an email. And so the way I used to do this is I used to scrape Yelp for this information. And so we would say, notice on LinkedIn, you're based in New York City. And um, we would just use the LinkedIn data for this. And then we would say, if we could connect, I'd be happy to buy you lunch at local popular restaurant. So we used to scrape Yelp for this. And then as they kept updating AI, we just found that AI knew what the local popular restaurant was, and it was much more accurate at not saying franchises. Because one problem we would have from Yelp is in some cities, the greatest restaurant in the area is Chick-fil-A. So then we would say, if we connect, I'd be happy to buy you lunch at Chick-fil-A. And it doesn't really show anything in there. And so AI is actually really good at finding the oldest, best restaurant in the area. And so that's just one that I really like. Google ratings call out. Notice on Google Maps the 4.8 star reviews you all have. So again, that's super easy. Just inside of Clay, we could just go to Google and you could just find business reviews information, and it's right in there as well. You could use Clayagent if you wanted to find this stuff. Traffic, no, data for SEO.com is another place you could get this stuff. It's super easy to get the Google ratings of these companies. Noticed on Yelp, the review person name left about AI summary of review. Again, we just use Clay for that. We'll call out the person, AI summary. Just make sure you filter for positive reviews. I was about to call a phone number, but figured email would be easier. Nothing groundbreaking here. I just like sending this to local business owners so that, you know, they see their phone number in the first line of the preview text, and potentially it looks like we're maybe a customer. Don't put people's mobile phone numbers here. Always use the business phone number. And this, again, works better when it's local business owners. Because just don't put their mobile phone number here. They think it's super creepy. Just use the publicly listed phone number from their Google My Business page. New leadership hire. I noticed on LinkedIn that new leader hired recently joined the team, and I'm sure they have a lot of new goals for the team. So again, we'll use Clay for this. And so we'll look and we'll say, like, find contacts at company, and then say we're looking for people. Say we're looking for people who in here we have directors of marketing and heads of marketing. So then we'll look for chief marketing and we'll look for CMO, and then we'll look for maximum number of months since start date and we'll put 6, and then we'll run this, and I'm sure we won't get a ton of results here, but this is exactly how we would run it. We would just do this in line in Clay, and we didn't get anything, which is totally fine, just so that we can find, somebody and say, okay, and this just becomes a different trigger for us, right? So if this is true, we just change the messaging and we say, okay, like, there's a new leader, and then we're reaching out to the director of marketing and we just talk about how there's a new chief marketing officer. Don't mind my Loom video if it's crazy right now. And so that's literally how we do this in here. You just want to make sure you set up your table where it is for sure the director of marketing, and then you're looking for the chief marketing officer. And then you just want to make sure that the names aren't the same. So also use a formula in Clay to then say, are these two names the same? And so the name that you find over here versus the name over here, because you don't want to say, hey, Lauren, I was doing some research and I saw Lauren's the new chief revenue officer. That would be bad. And so just make sure that you don't do that when you're doing that kind of outreach. Competitor call out. So we will actually, this one's fun. So again, we're using Serper for this one. And so my actual search for this is something like outreach.io competitors United States, right? So we have the domain that we want to look up, and then we're saying competitors, and then we say United States. So most companies will then, you could skip the sponsored stuff because your Serper is going to skip that stuff. And so then you would get your Gartner results, you get the G2 results, you might get the Reddit results, and you'll get all of these things, right? And so when you get these results, you're going to get this snippet here. And so this is funny. Sales Robot is the number one right here. And so you're going to get this snippet in here, right? And so what you can do is you can use AI and you could say, hey, review all of these snippets and tell me which company is named as a competitor most often. So then SalesLoft hopefully will come up the most often. So see how SalesLoft came up here, SalesLoft came up here, and then it didn't come up here. It didn't come up here, but Sales Robot. Oh, and then SalesLoft came up here actually again. So now AI is going to infer, oh, SalesLoft was named as the competitor most often. We're going to say SalesLoft. I like doing it this way instead of just trusting one data provider, because especially with competitors, people get really antsy about that stuff. So we'll just pull all of these using a Google search inside of the platform. And then maybe I can just show you really quick how it would happen. But I'm not going to use Serper because you guys would then be able to see my API key. But so if we just put in the domain and then we say competitors, and then you're just going to put in the country that the company is based in. just so that it's, if there's something similar, then at least we can try to figure it out. Well, so then we've got all of these results. We see this search result. What's this answer box thing? Okay, so this answer box thing is pretty cool. So you could also use this snippet, and then you would also use the snippets in here too. And so that I wonder if this is new. I haven't seen answer box before. I am very interested. Oh, this is just coming from G2. I was gonna say it would be so cool if that was the AI result. But then you would just have these snippets, right? And so then you could just send these snippets to one filter, find keywords and more using formula, and then you just send it to one column, and then you just use AI and you just basically say, okay, hey, outreach.io is the company we're looking up. So do not output outreach.io because there's no way that could be the answer. Look at this snippet and tell me which competitor is mentioned most often, and then it'll tell you. And so anyway, that's how we do that one. College popular event. This one's just for fun. Honestly, we've used it like once and I just wanted to include it. I think it's personally kind of fun. Notice you went to college. Do you ever go have time to go back for a popular event unique to the school? Honestly, if you just ask AI and you just say, what is a popular event that is unique to the school that occurred 20 years ago that also occurs today? You'll get something pretty interesting. So I went to Rutgers, and so something that they do all the time is there's a high dive board at Rutgers, and so once a year they'll allow students to just jump off the high dive board. So that'd be something that would potentially be called out here, right? There's probably other football rituals or some other things that I can't think of, and whatever. Call out if someone has never held a role before. This is one of my favorites. You want to be careful of which roles you're reaching out for, but basically, the best ones are the ones. So for if especially the leadership ones, right? So if somebody's never been a chief marketing officer, or they've never been a VP of sales, or they've never been a founder before, those are the ones that are pretty easy to find. And so we'll just look at the experience and we'll filter all of it, and we'll come up with every version of chief marketing officer that we can think of. And then we could say, oh, it looks like you also want to be a little bit, you know, uh, you want to protect yourself with the language a little bit. So you want to say, from what I could tell on your LinkedIn profile, it potentially seems like this is the first time you've been a founder before, or whatever it might be, or this is the first time you've explicitly said that you're the founder of a company. Just something like that, just to protect it. I found that I really like this kind of outreach. And then there's dynamic image or meme sending. We'll use Dynapic to dynamically change the images in here. And then ICP. So another one that I like to use too is we'll use AI to figure out who the ideal customer is of the people we're reaching out to. And so you can use AI and review the description and say, okay, who do these people most likely sell to? But then you just want to train it on a bunch of things. So you just want to train it on, okay, if give it two company descriptions as an example of a B2C company, and then give it two company descriptions of a B2B company, right? Because then its ICP for a B2B company would be chief technology officers, but for a B2C company it might be fitness enthusiasts or road biking cyclists or whatever it might be. Because if you don't train it on B2B context and B2C context, it's gonna like, for a road cyclist, it's going to come up with like director of road biking or something, and you just don't want it to do that. So that's another one of my favorite ones. Another one that we have is if you, I wonder if I still win this. I used to win this. Oh, sponsored. Oh, I do still win this. Okay. So if you look up GPT-4 prompt for cold email, this one is one of my favorites, to be quite honest. And now this is a YouTube video of my YouTube videos, which is pretty meta. But I love this one because this one just uses AI to come up with three ideas. And let's go into this. This one uses AI to come up with three ideas of how you could help a company. These in particular are about 10 to 15 words, but you could also make them much shorter. You can make them longer, whatever it might be. Again, this is just an extension of the one we have up here. right here specifically I think it could help you, and then we just insert how we think we could actually specifically help them. If we just give them more creative ideas, this is just how we can help them more. And so like I said, we've actually created much more complicated things than this, but if I were to tell you about those, it'd be useful to 2 or 3 people, because it doesn't really matter. And so use these for inspiration, use them if you have to use them, but the best AI generated text that you could possibly use is always the text that you would send if you were to manually research a prospect. So I was speaking in a friendly conversation, nothing crazy, with some people from Brex the other day, and they were saying, okay, what are top companies doing? And I said, don't worry about what top companies are doing. Think about what you wish your SDRs would be doing. And so then they said, oh, yeah, and, like, what ideas would that be? And I said, well, Brex does really well with international payments, right? So you could use Clay to figure out different countries that people have employees in, and then use AI to figure out what the currency is of those countries. And then you could say, hey, I noticed on LinkedIn you have a person in India, and then you can name them. You have a person in Brazil, and you can name them. And you have a person in France, and then you can name them. I'm just not going to say names because I don't want to get canceled for an assumption of names. And so then you can name the names, and then use AI to switch it to the euro, to rupees, and all of the different currencies. So you could say, hey, I was doing some research on LinkedIn, so you have people all over. It must be time consuming to manage euros and rupees and whatever currency they have in Brazil and things like that. And so we, as an agency, we build those messages for our customers. I'm just not going over it here because now, unless you run a competitor to Brex, that's not helpful to you at all. But I just want you to think bigger about what you could possibly say with Clay and AI, because Clay brings all the data providers together. AI can just make inferences and things to change the messaging and things like that. So don't settle for just generic outreach anymore. We've seen this increase positive response rates by 3, sometimes 5x. We're working with a public company right now that I am hoping we can talk about publicly, but we have a public company where we have doubled the positive response rate against the SDR team that's manually sending emails with Clay tables and AI generations and all of these other things. So take a look yourself, drop a comment if you liked it, and I'll see you in the next video.